Hello everybody and welcome to the Human Echoes recap for Krypton, Season 1, Episode 1. That's right, we're talking about Syfy's new show about Superman that doesn't have Superman in it. What? I gotta say, right off the bat, I was not initially super excited about this show. The first teasers that I saw for this were the ones that were like 15 seconds long that they played during the Olympics, and it was just Seg climbing some stairs and then like there's a cape there and it's Superman and that didn't do it for me. It looked cheap, it looked dumb, I didn't get what the appeal was. And then I saw the trailers that had a little bit more in it. And I was like, okay, I get it. I'm not 100% on board, but I do get the appeal here now. I understand what's worthwhile in this show, and I gotta say, the show itself really did deliver well on those trailers. We kick things off with a pretty terrible voiceover, to be honest. They're really nervous that we're not gonna know that this show is linked to Superman. So, like, they start talking about Superman within the first 5 seconds. They're like, guys, no, Superman. My son Kal-El, he's gonna be a thing, but this is not about him, but it's linked. So care. And the thing is, I don't think it needs it. I don't think Krypton, which, by the way, if people don't know that it's linked to Superman with a name like Krypton, then that's just, you've lost them. But the show itself doesn't need the link to Superman. It's great with all the other stuff. It's kind of cool to have the time travel element and the dude from Earth to come back and talk about who Superman is and why it matters and what this guy's goal is, but honestly, I cared about these characters absolutely regardless of whether or not they were related to Clark Kent. So we start off with the grandfather of the main character of the show, who's the grandfather of Superman. So Superman's great-great-grandfather. And he's going up what appears to be the newly established religious governmental order. The voice of Rao, I think is what they call the dude who's sort of the one who's in charge. They didn't give us an exact layout of how the government here works. It seems like it's not a total monarchy that just this one weird masked guy is just telling everybody exactly what to do, but everybody has fallen in step with him to the point where he's got enough power to essentially be a monarch. And Val-El is being condemned because he has this theory, and he claims he has proof, that there is life on other worlds. And just from like a science fiction standpoint, I gotta say it's really cool to go to a different planet with super advanced tech and like all this crazy stuff and then be like, aliens? No, there's no aliens, bro. The idea that other planets would just accept that there was extraterrestrial life without any examination or proof is a really interesting one. And the idea that now that there is proof of this extraterrestrial life, that's a threat to the current status quo, so they need to get rid of this guy. All of that stuff is really fascinating sci-fi stuff. But the big plot point here is that Val-El gets killed. And, you know, poor Seg is going to see 3 direct relatives die in this episode before we're done with. Val-El's killed, and the House of El, if you guys remember Kal-El, is stripped of their name and their rank. So there is no more House of El. Season 1, Episode 1, about the ancestors of Kal-El, gets rid of the House of El. Great way to start things off. Not, you know, instead of having like a terrible voiceover, what if you just had that as a scene? Krypton. I'm just saying, trust in your own show, Syfy, because it's pretty good. And then we jump 14 years later. At the opening of the show, we have our main character, Seg. He's a little kid. He sees his grandpa die. And we smash right into same guy, Seg, in a bar fight. And we get a lot of sort of information in this little piece of jumping from one to the other. We see that he's down on his luck, right? That this is not a high-end bar. This guy has fallen from grace, but he hasn't become bitter. All right, he's obviously got some baggage, and he talks about throughout the show that he's he's mad at the people who have taken their rank, and he's frustrated with how his parents have been treated, but he's also like got a sense of humor about it. He's not just some whiner who's like moping around, the bureaucracy did mean things to my family. Like, he's taken action, and I like that. I like that in a character. That of all the things this premiere needed to do, it needed to make Seg someone that we like to follow. Okay, and I was nervous because, again, in some of those initial previews that I saw, I didn't really get a flavor for what he was, what kind of person he was. And having been through this, I have a little bit more of that now. I understand the appeal, and they did a good job of crafting a character that I'm interested in. It's not the greatest character ever in the history of television, okay? I don't want to oversell this, but I think that they set up the foundation of who this guy is and why we should like him as an audience and what his struggle is really, really well in this first episode. And to top it all off, this bar fight is not just this guy showing that he can sort of hold his own against the authorities here, because he's fighting some policemen essentially trying to get out of a fine, but it's also him being very smart and working this system that he's a part of at the very, very bottom to make money, because he has lured these guys into this fight in order to establish a betting ring that he's going to profit off of. Sure, he does end up getting beat up, but he comes out on top in the end. And that's another great character trait that I like to see. I don't know how well they're going to continue showing that throughout the show, but it's fun to think, to have a character that can turn the tables of he doesn't have anything, any power, any money, any status, anything, and have him be able to find a way around the system to still survive. And then, in yet even more, I think, wonderful character building for Seg, he goes home, and Seg still lives with his mom and dad. He's 23, guys, and he still lives not even in their basement. He's just there with them. And we get more information about that. I love this, again, not resentful. He's not like, oh, hi, Mom, I hate that I have to live with you guys. Like, they're just a good family. They all live together. They're probably too poor to be able to afford another place. Seg is, again, probably resentful of this, but not some sullen dude who's, lost all sense of humanity. Like, he lives with his mom and dad, and that's not great, but you still love your mom and dad, and he's cool with that. Good character. We get more of this character building stuff, and I love it. And then we switch to someone in a very, very, very different situation. Lyta Zod. We got the Zods in this one, guys, because you gotta tie it in, right? You can't just have random people that nobody's ever heard of. You gotta have Zod and Brainiac and like main Superman type people that people are at least gonna recognize. And Lyta Zod is a recruit in the militia guild, military guild. I forget exactly what it's called, but the society of Krypton is split up into these guilds. And this is where we start to get a lot more information about that. They'll tease all this information out throughout the episode, and I think they do a really good job of building up the society. But Lyta Zod is here learning to fight, and it's a great progression, this scene, because there's this woman up front who's just got, done beating the crap out of some guy up on, this stage. Everybody sits there and watch her just beat people up, apparently, is their lessons. And she calls Lyta down, and we also establish that Lyta has a fiance here, who then says, what kind of fight that they're going to have, and we're probably going to get more into his character. I'm actually really interested to see what we find out about him later in the show, but we don't have any more information about him now. And she fights this, the head of the military academy, and loses, and we get a reveal that this is her mom, who's just, again, beat the crap out of her with less mercy than she showed to the previous dude, and has this big speech about how that you can't show mercy because the the enemies of Krypton will not show you any mercy. And we get a little bit of world building here. Let's talk about the world building, because we're starting to get into it here. We have alternative factions, okay? There's clearly the main government that's led by this face of Rao, sort of a theocracy-style republic, for lack of a better word. That's sort of my impression of it. And then this society is split up into various guilds, almost like, not like castes, because it's not like there's a level there, but like there is sort of a caste system. But you have the Science Guild, the Militia Guild, the Legislative Guild. There's probably many, many others. I assume there's a Plumbing Guild, because, you know, everybody got to poop. Where's the Plumbing Guild, guys? I want that story. But we have these different guilds, but there are people who are working against the system. Black Zero is the name of one that I specifically mentioned, and they rattle off a few more. Black Zero, I happened to look up. I'm not a comic book nerd much. I read Squirrel Girl. But I did my research before this episode, and it turns out Black Zero is the name of like 5 different things in the Superman universe. There's like 2 villains and 2 different organizations that are called Black Zero, and then there's a computer virus called Black Zero. And you can see why, because it's a cool name. But here they have this name from the Superman mythos being used as this sort of insurgent terrorist organization who's fighting against a government that probably is not the best. We don't have any evidence that like they're great either. I would love for them to go that route, by the way. We don't know very much at all about Black Zero, except that they're opposing this theocracy-style government. But so often in science fiction, you have the bad guys, and then the people who are fighting against the bad guys must be the good guys, right? And in recent years especially, I think we've all become more and more aware that a lot of times the 2 sides of a conflict are both equally bad, and I would really enjoy seeing at least a morally gray Black Zero portrayal. But we're not there yet. We don't have any of the information. The society, though, I mentioned the guilds. We get information later, after Seg has sort of gotten back into the good graces of society, that this is a very much a planned system. Everybody has a place that they're going to go, that they know that they're going to go from before birth. Like, you can decide before you have a kid. Like, you can have this computer tell you what he's going to look like, what kind of, job he's going to be able to have, how long he'll probably live. All of this stuff is set in stone, and this is a society that's sort of congealed itself. And it's an interesting, there's a lot of dystopian fiction out there, and this is more of it, okay? So if you've gotten sick of dystopian fiction, then yeah, I can't tell you, there's nothing I can say that would make you like this, I think, more. But I think it's pretty well done dystopian fiction. I think it's not super cartoonish. It feels like a pretty fully realized world. And in the course of this story, we find Zeg, and he's going to give his dad some meds. We never get any information on what his dad needs these meds for. We don't see him like break down or have any kinds of medical issues, but he needs these, I guess. Maybe it's his asthma inhaler, super sci-fi little albuterol squirter. And Seg goes to the place where his dad works, and it's interesting too, a little more world building, a little bit more character building for Seg. He has to go here, and he knows this already, but we as an audience now see that Seg's dad is essentially a slave of the state. He's probably getting paid, but he doesn't have any choice. He has to act very, very subservient. He's at the bottom rung, okay? He's the scum on the bottom of everybody else's shoes. And Seg isn't even that. He's unranked, so he's not allowed to go in, and he tries to get in to give his dad the medicine, just sort of trying to talk his way through. And in the process of this, he sees someone about to blow up the Senate chambers, and he runs in there. Another great little sci-fi twist. The guy has the bomb in his arm, like it melded into his arm. Never seen that in a show. I thought that was really neat. And he goes in there. He saves everybody in the chamber's life. Once again, you could I mean, granted, he's probably there trying to save his dad, right? Because his dad's there, his dad's going to get blown up. But there's no sense that Seg's like, man, if I let this guy do this, all those crappy people will be gone. He never has that moment of struggle in the show. He's just like, I'm going to do the right thing. This guy's trying to kill people. I'm out. I'm going. I'm going to tackle him and do whatever I have to do to save people. And I love that sort of signaling that this guy is the progenitor of a hero. That's in Superman's blood, to just want to help, even if it's someone who doesn't deserve to be helped. And in the process of what happens here, Seg is commended for what he's done. Everybody in the chamber there saw him almost sacrifice himself to save them, and they can't just let that go. So this Vex character, I forget what his first name is, but he calls Seg in and he says, listen, you did a good thing. You did good, kid. And here's what we're going to do for you. We're going to give you a rank. We're going to give you a name. You're going to take my name. You're going to get to bang my daughter. Y'all are getting bound, married, whatever, the sort of Kryptonian equivalent of marriage. And you're back in society. It's awesome. And don't even worry about the fact that my name is Vex. I'm probably still a good guy. He doesn't say that, but it's pretty hilarious that it's an obvious villain name, okay, is all I have to say. And, Seg is pretty much okay with this. Like, he's got his reservations, but he says, okay, I'll get back into society, like, I'm gonna be... He's sort of just learned that there's a certain flow that you have to go with, and he's going with that flow. He's happy to be back, and he's not super conflicted here. He does eventually find out that his parents aren't going to be ranked and named, and that's a problem for him. It's not... I like that the struggle for him is not about the name of El will be gone, because he's already resigned himself for that. The name of El for him has been gone for 14 years. But it's that he'll have to leave his parents still in the poverty and the slums of this world, and that's the thing that he sort of wants to rebel against. And in the course of time, with another wonderful save the cat moment where he's trying to stop the sort of enforcers for the Face of Rao from kicking this old dude who was a miner or something previously. He meets up with the Light Azad from the previous scene, and we find out that these two are a thing. And through this, we kind of get this interesting look into how the society works, because even though they have arranged marriages, even though everything is like set up for everybody's lives to be the way they've been planned, the people here haven't been extracted of all emotion. There's still love, there's still stupidity, there's still the desire to go off and do your own thing, and these two are clearly not meant for each other. And I love the revelation later on that both of their moms know what's going on, and they're like covering for them the whole time. But they love each other. They're into each other, and they're both now betrothed to different people, but they're gonna keep banging away until they, aren't able to anymore. The question that came up, and I was looking at the subreddit for this, kind of trying to see what people were saying, if people had different takes than I did or had interesting insights into the show. And one of the things that people mentioned was, if people are having like regular human sex or whatever Kryptonians are, sort of, I mean, they're human, okay? If they're doing that, and we get a mention from Vex's daughter that there is like, there were at one point babies carried in wombs, and I guess they still can technically be. If all that's the case, then like how do they, is just everybody getting abortions on the reg? Do they have super great birth control? They don't go into that yet, so I don't know what the story there is, but we know if we're going up to the Superman movie, the Man of Steel movie, the plot to that, where we kind of got this whole Kryptonian world from, said that Superman was like the first baby in 100 years or several decades or however long that had been born in a natural way. We see all these little embryos in this weirdo tube that are being baked, essentially, which is nice. I mean, I'm not a lady, so I don't have to deal with it, but if I did, I would say, let's get them tubes going. I don't want to be carrying around anymore. Where's the test tube, baby? Get bigger test tubes. But they've essentially eradicated biological birth, and why doesn't sex just create babies? How is it that they've so effectively suppressed regular natural births? I don't know. Maybe it's just that the women, when they have the option, just unanimously opt out. But it does seem a little bit counterintuitive. The plot kicks off when a guy named Adam Strange. I say the plot kicks off. We've been talking about the plot for like 22 minutes now. So, but the sort of the larger arc. Oh guys, don't forget there's Superman here. This guy named Adam Strange from Earth shows up and gives Seg this blue icicle thing, like a ice pop or whatever. It's the ice cream thing he's gonna eat. He's not gonna eat it. He gives him this. He tells him about Superman. He tells him you need to find the fortress, and he disappears because that's how Adam Strange works. Apparently, he sort of like can project himself into a time for a little bit and then zoop, gets zapped back. I was not expecting to like the character of Adam Strange as much as I did in this episode. Like, I'd kind of seen him in all of the preview material. He was just sort of the deliverer of the news that Superman is his grandson. And again, just so we make sure everybody knows, this show, it's linked up with Superman, you guys. You know Superman? 1930, the Action Comics #1? Yeah. He shows up, and his whole deal, his interaction with Zeg is really fun, because he says all this stuff that to us is like, yeah, okay, Superman, he's a hero, he's gonna come along. And Seg, because he's just seen this guy walk up in not Kryptonian clothes, is like, wait, what? Who? Fortress? And then he's just gone, and he has like almost no memory of it by the time he gets home. He's like, he said something about like a grandson and a fortress, and I don't know, he gave me this weird blue thing. And his mom sees the blue thing, and she hears the word fortress, and that like sends the radar bells going way up. And a little bit later in the episode, he's walking home from his tryst with Lyda Zod and gets harassed by some guards for being out after curfew. We don't know what the punishment is for being out after curfew, but it doesn't seem to be great. And his mom shows up in a skimmer thing that she stole, and he hops in, and they fly off to his grandfather's Fortress of Solitude. And I have written down in my notes here, in all caps, John Williams music! Because we get the John Williams music. I do want the Krypton theme to come in at some point. The ba 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 bum. But no, the Superman theme. Bum ba da bum bum. Bum bum bum. Just a little bit of it. It's such a great song. I do not understand the idea. Some people have erroneously postulated that the music for the Man of Steel movie is better than the music from the original Superman the movie from like the 70s, and they're just wrong. They just are. Like, the music for Man of Steel is fine, but music from Superman the movie it's John Williams, okay? It's better, all right? John Williams, it has more music in his little pinky than Hans Zimmer has in like all of his parts. Yeah. Hans Zimmer's okay too, though. I'm not trying to trash Hans Zimmer. I've heard some good Hans Zimmer music. His score for Sherlock Holmes is really good. But they get into this Fortress of Solitude, and we find out that Seg's family has known about this place the whole time. And they know about the work that the grandfather does, but they could not get in. Like, it was locked, and they were banished, and so there was no way for them to physically open this place up. And now that he has the blue icicle, it's a key that opens this place up, and Seg gets to go inside his grandfather's cool fortress thing. Or there's statues and like models of the universe. I don't know what all this stuff's supposed to be. It does not all look like scientific equipment, okay? The massive statue of the two people reaching out to touch the sun seems like it wasn't completely necessary to his scientific work, but I'll allow it because it looks freaking awesome. Finally, a Superman-related property has something to rival the Batcave. Although the Fortress of Solitude in the original Superman and in the new one are pretty cool as well. I like, while we're talking about that, they kind of kept that crystalline element to some of the things with Krypton, and the design here and the way it looks is just outstanding. The production quality here is near movie production quality. I mean, you know what? I'm not even gonna say near this first episode looked like a movie, and maybe it's just. Maybe they'll spend a little bit less money in future episodes. You know, you really want to just get everybody hooked with that first one, so you throw the most guns at it that you can. But it looked great to me. I thought that the city looked good. The way it was shot didn't feel like they were just like, we're standing in front of a green screen now. Everybody just stand in front, very quietly in front of the, okay. And we've got the shot of the city going on behind you. Okay, moving on to dimly lit room. It wasn't like that. They did a great job. There was a lot of production design. There was a lot of great computer graphics works. It seemed like there was a lot of like cool sets, and I think some of that ship that she rescues him in, that Zeg's mom rescues him in, is actually built and moved around on some of the sets. So, I mean, just super props to Krypton for having cool props. The plot at this point kind of rubber bands, accelerates a little bit. Seg and his mom get back. His mom is like, they've detected that she's stolen this skimmer. She gets captured. Caesar gets captured. And this is like my biggest issue with this episode. The scene that comes after his mom gets captured, he's in like the science fiction prison talking to her, and she's giving him more information, and it just doesn't make sense that he would be able to like sneak in there, because what Primus Zod, the mom Zod, finds him in there and like kicks him out and says, you didn't see him? Okay, we're covering for him, cool. How did he get in? On a normal Earth prison, I do not believe that I could just walk in and talk to a person in their cell, like without going through some pretty heavy checkpoints and signing in and letting them know who I was. What was the process where he like got in here for 2 seconds for his mom to deliver some kind of like great thing, which she already kind of told him everything she needed to know. It's not like they needed to have this scene. They had several scenes with him and his mom together. Whatever. She goes on trial, and pretty quickly things go south. They want to know who is in the skimmer with her. They've got readouts that say that there were 2 people in the skimmer, despite the fact that they don't have readouts to stop him from going into her prison cell. Why? Gonna get off that. And in order to save Seg, his dad sacrifices himself and says, no, it was me. I was with her. I'm the accomplice. And almost immediately they're shot. Now, it's a little bit of a confusion here on what's going on. He, I think, picks up a gun. At some point, the mom picks up the gun. But there's this interesting bond between Seg's mom and Lyda's mom, where they both know their children love each other. And while she's not sympathetic to Seg's mom's cause, I forgot what her name was, but Seg's mom's, she's gonna kill her. She's straight up like, you are gonna die, but there's things worse than death, and I'd like to save you from those. And from a person who just stabbed her own daughter in the hand and said no mercy, that's an interesting sentiment, I think. It shows that there's more to her than just the hardness that she's trying to convey to everyone else. And after this incident happens, the fact that it's Primazad that shot Seg's mom is brought up as maybe an act of mercy. Vex says to her, like, you could have took that a different way, and you didn't. I think that you were protecting her from like worse tortures or whatever it is. They haven't found out about the Phantom Zone yet, I guess. But she has like the tiniest soft spot. The kind of soft spot that is willing to kill someone rather than torture them, but still a small amount of sympathy, and I'm really compelled by this character. I think that she's very interesting. I don't know, it is an interesting question of how all of the incarnation of Zod we've seen so far have been white, and the House of Zod here seems to be black. Not a criticism by any means, and if we're just gonna like not worry about the specific continuity, that's great. Or if maybe I guess genetic manipulation is a thing on this world too. But I'm just kind of curious about how if they're going to explain that, if it needs to be explained. I don't think it needs to be, because she's awesome and her daughter's awesome, and like that, again, no problems with the characters being black. I was just, I wonder if they're going to try to work that out, or if they'll just say, listen, this universe, Zod's a black dude, deal with it. Primus, Zod warns Vex, though. In the same scene where Vex is telling her, why did you, kill this woman? We could have gotten information out of her. She knows what Vex is doing to Seg. She knows that Vex is trying to bring Seg into his house to put him as a feather in his cap. Like, look at me. I was able to rehabilitate the lost house of El. I got their progeny back on track. Marrying him off to my daughter. This is going to be great. Look at me, voice of Ra. Excuse me, little hiccup there. Look at me, voice of Ra. Aren't I awesome? I'm putting everything right. And Primus Zod says to him, this is a bad idea. This guy is not going to go along with your plans. He will fight back. And in the final scene, we have another warning. Adam Strange talks to Seg about Brainiac, the Eater of Worlds. This is, of the visuals that we saw in the show, this is one of the coolest visuals. Even I, from having watched The Big Bang Theory, know about the, sort of the shrunken city of Kandor that Brainiac created. I didn't realize that this guy went around doing that to all kinds of worlds. And to see this maw of a ship going through this debris of a galaxy, and him inside of it with all these tiny shrunken cities in these tiny globes, and now he's coming for Krypton. That was a really interesting villainy. Like, the idea that this guy collects worlds. He doesn't just destroy them. He puts them in a zoo, in a tiny zoo. He shrinks them down. That is really neat. I just think that's a cool villain concept, and the way it's realized here is the more important thing. The fact that it looks great. Brainiac looks great. His ship looks great. All of these shrunken worlds look great. And now we have not only the threat. See, this is the thing. They're trying to make it about Superman, and we have the cape that does the time travel-y thing where it's dissolving as the timeline moves or whatever. But the bigger threat to these people right now is the fact that there is an actual person coming to destroy them. Yes, he might have time travel from the future to stop Superman from being born by destroying his grandfather, but like, he's gonna eat a whole planet. And all these people are gonna have to learn somehow to work together, or not, but somehow they're gonna have to fight this thing off. They're gonna have to fight off this thing that's already destroyed a lot of other worlds that are probably pretty technologically advanced. This guy doesn't look like he's collecting, like, pond scum, okay? So I enjoy the setup here. I think that this premiere episode does a great job of setting up what the stakes are. It sets up who the characters are. It sets up what they are in relation to each other. The, parents killed thing is a little bit rushed at the very end, I felt like. It just seemed like it could have used some different pacing, but I understand why they wanted to establish Seg as a character first. And I think if you have to go between one or the other, make us care about him and then kill his parents off quick, rather than us not caring about him and he has a long prolonged like ordeal with his parents going away and getting killed. And the fact that they did a good job of that, I'm on board with this show. I looked on Rotten Tomatoes to see what the critics who got to watch it ahead of time were saying, and it's around 44%. I'm not this is 100% like the best show on television, these guys are crazy, but I am higher than that. Okay, I'm at like a 65 to 70%. If I was like, if you came to me and it's told me to watch just this episode and guess like what the critic reaction would be, I would put it at like high 70s. It's good television. It's good sci-fi. It's okay dystopian stuff. And I think it's got a sense of fun too. Not like, maybe not quite Marvel fun, but just in the right doses, especially Adam Strange with his Detroit Tigers hat. And then later on, there's the line that Seg has where he's telling his mom and dad about Adam Strange. He's like, he said he was from another world. I think he said it was called Detroit. Well, I don't think he delivered it quite as hammily as that, but the show knows how to do a little bit of fun and still stay serious. And I like that. I like this show so far. Episode 1, very promising. We'll be back episode 2 next week, and we'll see if it holds up. But I'm intrigued. I'm interested to keep going. I hope you guys are too. And if you are, let me know about it in the comments of the YouTube video. We are also going to be releasing this as an audio version of the recap. It's something that I have done in the past and kind of wanted to get back to. If you're watching this on YouTube and you think, oh, I could listen to this as a podcast, I get rid of this guy's stupid face. I'm done, but I can hear what he wants to say about Brainiac all day long. If that's what you want, there should be a link in the description to the audio-only version of the podcast. Again, if you're listening to the audio-only version, this is on YouTube as well, and you can go over there and leave your comments. Like and subscribe if you have not done that, because we will be covering at least the next couple episodes of Krypton going forward, and we'll see how it goes. We'll see if that 44% rotten rating on Rotten Tomatoes turns out to be warranted or not as we go forward. But for now, I'm digging it. See you guys next week. Take care, y'all.